because, like I said, I was 15 and in the middle of the 1970s, and my father had fought in the Haganah in 1947-48, and in the middle of the 1973 war, I said, I support Egypt, which was like a bomb thrown over the dining table. And so we talked a lot about Palestinians because then we would just scream at each other and I'd be screaming, what about Yassin? And my parents would be screaming, they left of their own accord, that, you know, the Arab League told them to leave, so they just left. We didn't do anything.
My grandfather was the founder of the United Synagogue in a very Jewish area in London. So, you know, as far as they were concerned, Israel was the most important thing. I never heard anything else but Israel, Israel, Israel. You know, we were always collecting money for Israel, the JNF, planting trees because there's nothing there. This is an empty land, and we have to help Israel plant all the trees because there aren't any trees there. What a load of rubbish! But that's what we were taught because nobody ever took the side of the Palestinians. I don't ever remember hearing about the Nakba. Nothing. You just didn't get any history. All I got was, when I was growing up, we have to have Israel. Why do we have to have Israel? In case something like the Holocaust happens again, we've got somewhere to go. And I used to say, but you have somewhere to go. We live in England. We're British. So, you know, for that generation, for my parents' generation, it was the most important thing in the world. You have to have Israel.
My parents went to a Jewish school and met there and then vowed never to send their child to one. And I think what is interesting is that because there is just so much wrapped around Zionism and so in pretty much every Jewish institution, whether it's, you know, the Jewish News as a newspaper or whether it's all of the Jewish organizations are so thoroughly wrapped around Zionism. And I've got the real challenge because my son's Indigenous on his mother's side, and we joke that he's a didgeridoo. But it's easy to expose him to his Indigenous heritage here because we talk about, and he's learning Woiwurrung at his school, and he's learning about culture, and all of that's great. But to try and get him involved in Jewish stuff here is actually really, really difficult because so much of it is just so thoroughly about Israel.
Yes.
Every synagogue is raising money for Israel, and it's like, well, how can I actually take my son to a synagogue when that's what they're doing? And that's it's a barrier for so many Jews. And I think that's part of the problem. I think that there are a lot of Jews out there who the Jewish community say, well, we represent Jews, but the Jews who don't fit into their mold are just kind of left by the way. So as you say, they don't meet other Jews. We don't meet each other, but right? Or we meet handful of each other because because all of those institutions are so thoroughly ingrained in Zionism.
Because I'm not such a religious Jew, I still used to go to synagogue on Jewish New Year and Yom Kippur, and I can still remember sitting between my mum and my aunt. And the rabbi would then do his sermon, and every single year the sermon would be about Israel. And really, I thought it was anti-Palestinian. They actually talked. Now that I'm talking about, I'm an adult and I do know what's going on in the world. My mum and my aunt used to have their hands on my knees to stop me getting up to start shouting at the rabbi because he was inciting violence as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
He had no right to. Unfortunately, he was an American Jew. When he changed and we had a woman, actually, she was much more relaxed, and she actually did talk about Palestine and how we want a combined life together. But it was awful, absolutely awful. And I'm sure that was going on in most synagogues, which is terrible.